Tanny Cooks here, and today we're going to make an absolutely delicious soup. But the question is, what kind of noodle are we going to use in our soup? So I have three of my favorites. So these are udon noodles that I have made on this channel before. I made those with shrimp and broccoli, so be sure to check that video out. But the package says udon stir fry noodle, and it's 2 pouches in here for a total of 14.2 ounces. I don't stir fry. I like to boil mine in soup. That's just my personal preference. So this is not an authentic noodle recipe. It's just a delicious recipe that I like. You can see the nutrition facts. There's 0 fat in it, and I like these noodles because they have a short list of ingredients, which mainly include water and wheat flour. And so you'll also see the same thing on the white lo mein noodles, just a different shaped noodle. It is an 8-ounce package, and it also contains 1 gram of fat, and the ingredients are wheat flour, salt, and that's it. The noodle we're going to use today is labeled Chinese noodle, which looks like ramen noodles to me, but they're not cooked in soybean oil. At least that's not on the package anyway. We're going to use 2 types of steak today, Denver chuck steak as well as chuck eye steak, and then during this video I'll let you know which one I like the best. Okay, we're going to start by making sure our steaks are washed and dried, which I already did. Now I'm just going to add some olive oil to help the steaks take the seasoning that we're going to add. And now we're going to add our seasoning. So if you've seen me cook some beef on this, then you've probably already seen me cook with Oxtail Seasoning. This is Blue Mountain Country Oxtail Seasoning. These are the ingredients. It contains sea salt. You can see it. Sea salt, red pepper, thyme, celery seed, allspice, paprika, garlic, onion, and sugar. So we're just going to make sure we add our seasonings to both sides of the steak. In addition to the oxtail seasoning, we are going to have some garlic powder and some onion powder. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of hickory smoked salt, fine grain. It's made by Viva Doria. I buy this from Amazon. This is a 2-pound bag. There is a link to it in my description. I've used this before in my videos, but the packaging is new. And the thing I love about this salt, of course, lasts for a long time. So this package that I just got delivered a couple of days ago from Amazon expires or is best used before 07/2027. So I have several years to use this bag. And I am not going to pour my hands into the bag. I'm just going to sprinkle some into my hand. And I don't use a lot of salt to begin with because remember, we can add salt at the end, but it's harder to take away salt if you've over seasoned it with salt. So I'm not even going to use everything I put in my hand. And then let's just give it a massage. And I'll add some more oil if I need, and more seasoning on the back side if I need to. We're going to add the same seasonings to our broth, but we want each layer of the steak to be, each layer of this dish to be seasoned. So that's why we're seasoning the meat as well as the broth. And you can season to your liking. So if you don't like garlic or onion, then you can leave either one of them out. I just like it because it adds a great flavor. So now I'm going to give my hands a wash and then heat up my pan to continue. So I have the eye for the frying pan that we're going to cook our steak in. This is a heavy bottom black pan. You could use a cast iron skillet if you like. You could grill the steaks if you prefer. So while that is heating up, I'm going to let my steaks just rest. And then I am going to move on to starting my broth. So I'm going to heat up the pan for that as well. And I'm using the Swanson unsalted beef broth. I'm using 1 container, which is 32 ounces, and I'll add some additional water if I need to. And then next up, we're just going to add our basic seasonings to the broth. So garlic powder. This looks like a lot, but remember we're going to have noodles in here, so they will also need some flavor. Onion powder, Oxtail Seasoning. And then towards the end, I will add a little bit of the salt. So we're going to let that come up to temperature. And then next up, we'll go ahead and slice our onions and garlic while we wait for our pans to heat up. Okay, so here's the onion that I had used half of for something else. So I'm just going to slice it up. Since I'm cooking this onion with noodles, I think I'll go ahead and slice it into thin slices similar to the size of the noodles or just a little bit bigger. And I don't want that piece. It's a little discolored. And I think I'll cut it this way because I don't want the onions to be too thick. Too long, I mean. Too long or too thick. This looks like it'll probably be enough onions. So that one can stay back there. And now I'm going to use some garlic. I usually use a wider knife than this, but since this is already dirty, I'll just try to use this one. I meant dirty as in I used it to slice those onions, so I don't want to get a whole new knife. Okay, so now that it's a little bit smashed, I'm just going to peel it all the way and give it a fine mince. And this will go in our broth. So I'm just going to cut the ends off of the garlic. Okay, and any discolored piece. Just smash. And give it a fine mix. Okay, let's go ahead and add our steaks to our heated up pan. It is on medium heat. You can hear the sizzle. You don't want to overcrowd your pan. This pan will be big enough for my 4 steaks. And now I'm just going to wash my hands while my steaks cook. So while the broth is still coming to a nice simmer, I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic and onions in so that they can start to get soft. Add garlic and onion to your personal liking. Since we've added our garlic and onion to our broth, let's go ahead and add some roasted red peppers. These are mild. You could slice up some fresh bell peppers if you wanted to, but this is convenient. And I love having these on hand for soups and salad. I specifically am using these because they are soft, and I want every element in this dish to be soft. But for the person I'm cooking for, because that's their preference. Okay, so let's take a look at our steaks and turn them over and see how beautiful they look. Ooh, y'all, look at that. This is the chuck eye steak. So we're not going to let the steaks go too long on this side because we don't want it to get overcooked. Now, the person I'm cooking it for probably isn't into the pinkness of the situation, but I don't want to overcook it because when we add the steak to the broth, it will cook something as well. So we do want it to stay soft and tender. I like my steaks medium rare. Let me know in the comments what temp do you like your steaks cooked to in general. I know a lot of people like theirs well. So these are my steaks. We're going to let the steaks rest under a piece of oil. I moved my broth off of the eye that it was on because it started to boil, and I didn't want all of my beef stock to boil out. So let's take the lid off and see how it's looking. Soft bell peppers and onions. So now the heat is on 2. We're going to go in and add our Chinese noodles and let these cook. Let's see, the instructions say add package to 3 quarts of boiling water, cook about 3 minutes, rinse under cool water and drain. We're not going to do that step. We're going to let these cook in the soup. Hot, I'm going to add both packs of noodles, and I will add a little bit of water if I need to. We'll give our broth a taste, and if it needs more seasoning because we add water, then we will certainly add that. So I'm going to give that a few minutes to cook, and then I will check my steaks next. Okay, so now you can see that our steaks have been resting. You can see some of the juices on the side. Okay, so let's slice the steak. So you can see the grain is going left to right. So I'm cutting up and down, perpendicular. I am also trying to cut it as thin as possible because it tends to be more tender when the pieces are thinner. Yes, you can see some pink, but remember we're going to put this in hot broth, so it will cook more if you like warmer temperature, or you can just cook your steak longer. It's up to you. Now I'm going to give a piece a taste. Oh, that's good. That is seasoned to perfection. Okay, so I'm just going to give the rest of my steak a cut. And I'll probably cut it shorter just so in the soup it's easier to pick up with your fork like that. I know it looks like all the juice is on the board, but I'm telling you, I just tasted a piece and it is super tender. And those seasonings are absolutely delicious. Okay, let's do the chuck eye steak. Now remember, the chuck eye had more fat on it. So I'm going to cut off some of the fat. That piece I'm just going to leave to the corner for myself. This steak was thinner, so it is a little bit more well cooked, which is okay. As we get inside, now we are seeing a little bit more pink. Okay, y'all, so our steak is all sliced up. I do think I like the Denver steak that you see in the back a little bit better than the chuck steak. I did not know I had that preference, but now I do. So, our ramen has been cooking, and I know the package says to only cook it for 3 minutes, but mine has been cooking a little bit longer, and it's going to be in the soup. So, I am not claiming this to be the most authentic Chinese noodle, as the package said, or ramen soup. It's just a noodle soup that I'm cooking for my family the way that we like to eat it. So I'm just going to give, and here I am using a fork again. Let me get an actual proper utensil. So there is still some broth in there. I may need to add a little bit more. Okay, so what we do before we serve anything is that we taste it. So I tasted the noodles and it needed more seasoning. So I'm adding some complete seasoning for flavor. I also added plenty more oxtail seasoning, garlic powder, onion powder, and salt. So taste it and then add seasoning to your liking. Look how delicious this soup is. Now, if you don't like your meat this rare, as soon as you mix it into the hot broth, it will cook through some a little bit more, but look at how gorgeous this is. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel.